The patrol car pulled up to the house at 11:30 a.m. on a Tuesday. Jake Morrison was working from home, on a video call with a client, when he saw the lights through his home office window. Two deputies, walking up to his front door with purpose. Jake muted his mic. "Hey, can we pause for 5 minutes? I need to handle something." He went to the door, opened it before they could knock. "Can I help you, officers?" The two deputies looked young. Maybe mid-20s. A man and a woman. Both white. Their nameplates read, Deputy Lewis, and Deputy Kim. "Sir, we received a complaint from your HOA about illegal structures on your property," Deputy Lewis said. "We need to inspect your backyard." Jake blinked. "HOA? We don't have an HOA. The complaint says." "I don't care what the complaint says. This house isn't in an HOA. We specifically bought outside HOA boundaries because my wife hates them." Deputy Kim pulled out a notepad. "Sir, the complaint came from a Patricia Henderson. She claims to represent the Meadowbrook HOA and says your property has unpermitted structures." Patricia Henderson. Jake knew that name. She lived 3 houses down. She'd been a problem since they moved in 2 years ago. Always complaining about something, but she definitely wasn't part of any HOA that had authority over his property. "Officers, I'm telling you, we're not in an HOA. You can check the property records. This house is specifically outside the Meadowbrook development boundaries. Sir, we still need to investigate the complaint." "About what? What unpermitted structures?" Lewis consulted his notes. "A shed, a fence, and a children's play structure. I have permits for all of those. Filed with the county. Approved and signed off. We'd still like to see them." Jake felt irritation rising. "You want me to dig through my files because some busybody neighbor filed a false complaint? Don't you need probable cause or a warrant?" "Sir, we're just trying to resolve this quickly. If you cooperate." "I am cooperating. I'm telling you the complaint is false and you're wasting your time." Deputy Kim's hand moved near her radio. "Sir, you're being uncooperative. We can get a warrant if necessary." "For what? What crime are you investigating?" "Illegal structures. Code violations." "Code violations aren't criminal matters. They're civil. You're deputies, not code enforcement." Jake crossed his arms. "I think you need to leave unless you have actual probable cause for a criminal investigation." Lewis' face flushed. "Sir, are you refusing to cooperate with law enforcement?" "I'm asserting my Fourth Amendment rights." "There's a difference." "Mr. What's your name, sir?" "Jake Morrison." "Mr. Morrison, we can make this easy or we can make it hard. Your choice." Jake pulled out his phone. Called his wife. "Hey babe, you have a minute? We have a situation." "Yeah, 2 of your deputies are at the house demanding to inspect the backyard because Patricia Henderson filed some fake HOA complaint." "Yeah, that Patricia. Okay, I'll tell them." Jake lowered the phone. "My wife says you 2 need to call your supervisor immediately." "Your wife?" Deputy Lewis looked skeptical. "My wife. Sheriff Rachel Morrison. Your boss." Both deputies went pale. Kim's hand moved away from her radio. Lewis suddenly found his shoes very interesting. "Sheriff Morrison is your wife?" Kim's voice cracked slightly. "That's what I said. And she'd like you to call your supervisor. Or she'll call them herself. Your choice." Lewis fumbled for his radio. "Dispatch, this is Unit 14. We need Sergeant Parker at 147 Willow Creek Drive. Priority." "Copy that, Unit 14. What's the nature?" Lewis glanced at Jake. We need the sergeant. Now." 5 minutes that felt like an eternity. Jake leaned against his doorframe. The 2 deputies stood awkwardly in his driveway, not looking at each other, definitely not looking at him. A supervisor's vehicle pulled up. Sergeant Paul Parker emerged. 50-something, black, with the weathered look of someone who'd seen everything twice. He took one look at the scene, Jake at the door, 2 nervous rookies in the driveway, and sighed. "Someone want to tell me what's happening?" "Sarge, we responded to an HOA complaint," Lewis started. "At the sheriff's house," Parker finished. "Yeah, dispatch just informed me. After you called me. What were you thinking?" "We didn't know." "You didn't know this was the sheriff's address. You didn't think to check before rolling up to investigate a non-criminal complaint at a private residence." "The complaint said." "I don't care what the complaint said." Parker's voice rose. "You're deputies, not code enforcement. You have no authority to investigate zoning violations. That's not our job." He turned to Jake. "Mr. Morrison, I apologize. This was completely inappropriate. My officers overstepped their authority. I tried to tell them we're not in an HOA and I have permits for everything. You shouldn't have had to tell them anything." They shouldn't be here. Parker looked at the two deputies. Both of you, return to the station. We'll discuss this in my office. Sergeant. Now. They left. Fast. Parker turned back to Jake. Again, I'm sorry. The sheriff is going to hear about this from me before anyone else. And we'll make sure Ms. Henderson understands that filing false police reports has consequences. She's done this before, you know. Called the county about our fence. Called about our shed. Every time she's told we're not in her HOA jurisdiction and she has no authority. But she keeps trying. I'll handle it personally. This stops today. After Parker left, Jake went back to his office. Tried to focus on work. Failed. He was still annoyed 30 minutes later when his wife came home early. Rachel Morrison walked through the door in full uniform. Sheriff stars on her shoulders. Weapon on her hip. 5'9", black, with natural hair she kept short for practicality. She'd been sheriff for 3 years after 15 years working her way up from patrol deputy. Where are they? She asked. At the station. Parker took them back. Good. Because I have words for them. Many words. She tossed her keys on the counter. You okay? Annoyed. Frustrated. But okay. They didn't search anything. No. I wouldn't let them. Told them they needed probable cause or a warrant. Good man. Rachel pulled off her duty belt. This is exactly the kind of overreach I've been trying to eliminate. Deputies thinking they're code enforcement. Responding to civil complaints as if they're criminal matters. Harassing residents without proper cause. What about Patricia? Oh, I have plans for Patricia. Rachel's smile was cold. She filed a false police report. She lied about HOA authority. She wasted department resources. She's about to learn a very expensive lesson. That evening, Rachel made a house call. 3 doors down. Patricia Henderson's house. Immaculate lawn. Everything perfectly maintained. American flag flying. Proud Meadowbrook HOA, sign in the front yard. Rachel knocked. Patricia answered. Mid-50s, white, with the kind of haircut that screamed, "Let me speak to the manager." Can I help? Oh. Patricia's face went from confusion to recognition to fear in seconds. Sheriff Morrison. Ms. Henderson. We need to talk. About what? About the false police report you filed today. About you claiming to represent an HOA that has no authority over my property. About you wasting my department's resources. I was just trying to maintain neighborhood standards. You were harassing my husband. There's a difference. Rachel stepped forward slightly. Not threatening, but commanding presence. Let me be very clear. My house is not in the Meadowbrook HOA. We bought specifically outside your boundaries. You have no authority over our property. None. But your structures are visible from my house. They lower property values. That's not a legal argument. That's a preference. And your preferences don't give you the right to make false reports to law enforcement. I didn't make a false report. I genuinely believed. You've been told multiple times by county officials that we're outside your jurisdiction. Multiple times. Yet you keep filing complaints. That's not a good faith belief. That's harassment. Patricia's face flushed. I'm a homeowner. I have the right to protect my property values. You have the right to address actual violations through proper channels. You don't have the right to weaponize law enforcement against neighbors you don't like. Rachel pulled out a citation. You're being charged with filing a false police report. Fine is $500. If you do this again, it becomes a criminal misdemeanor. You can't do this. I'll call your supervisor. I'm the sheriff. I don't have a supervisor. I answer to the voters. Rachel handed her the citation. And if you continue harassing my family or any other residents outside your HOA boundaries, I'll personally investigate every complaint you've ever filed. I'll look for patterns of false reporting. And I'll prosecute accordingly. This is abuse of power. No, this is accountability. You abused the 911 system. You filed a false report. You wasted taxpayer resources. Those are the consequences. Rachel turned to leave, then stopped. Oh, and Ms. Henderson, my deputies are young. They made a mistake responding to your complaint the way they did. But they're learning. You, on the other hand, have no excuse. You knew better. You did it anyway. That ends today. Back at the station, Rachel called Lewis and Kim into her office. Sergeant Parker was already there. Sit, Rachel ordered. They sat, both looking like they wanted to disappear. Tell me what happened this morning. Start to finish. Lewis spoke first. Explained the dispatch call. The HOA complaint. Going to Jake's house. Requesting to inspect the property. And when Mr. Morrison told you we don't have an HOA, what did you do? We insisted on investigating anyway. Why? Because the complaint said. The complaint was from a civilian. A civilian who's been told repeatedly she has no jurisdiction. You're law enforcement. You're supposed to investigate the validity of complaints, not blindly follow them. Rachel leaned forward. Tell me something. What crime were you investigating? Silence. What crime? Rachel repeated. Code violations. Those are civil matters handled by the County Code Enforcement Office. Not us. Unpermitted structures. Again, civil. So what criminal matter gave you authority to demand access to my property? We thought we were helping resolve a community dispute. That's not our job. Our job is enforcing criminal law, not mediating law disputes, not inspecting sheds. Rachel's voice was firm but not angry. Educational. I know you're both new. I know you're trying to be proactive. But this was wrong. You overstepped your authority. You harassed a resident, my husband, without proper cause. And you potentially violated his Fourth Amendment rights. Kim looked like she might cry. Ma'am, we're sorry. We didn't know it was your house. And that's exactly the problem. Rachel's voice rose. It shouldn't matter whose house it is. You don't treat my husband differently than any other resident. Every person in this county deserves the same constitutional protections, whether they're married to the sheriff or not. Yes, ma'am. Here's what's going to happen. Both of you are being reassigned to remedial training on Fourth Amendment rights, proper authority, and civil versus criminal matters. You'll also be writing formal apologies to my husband for the harassment. And you'll be reviewing every code enforcement policy we have so you understand what is and isn't our jurisdiction. Yes, ma'am, they said in unison. And one more thing. Rachel's voice softened slightly. I'm not punishing you because you bothered my husband. I'm correcting you because this is the kind of overreach that destroys community trust. If you'd done this to anyone else, any other resident who didn't know their rights or didn't have connections, you could have violated their constitutional rights. That's serious. That's the kind of thing that gets departments sued and officers fired. We understand, ma'am. Good. Dismissed. After they left, Sergeant Parker stayed behind. You were fair with them, he said. They're young. They made a mistake. But they need to learn now before it becomes a pattern. Rachel rubbed her temples. What worries me is how easily they assumed authority they didn't have. How quickly they threatened my husband with, we can make this easy or hard. That's escalation. That's intimidation. That's what gets people hurt. I'll work with them. Make sure they understand. Thanks, Paul. Rachel looked out her window at the parking lot. And keep an eye on Patricia Henderson. She's not going to let this go. People like her never do. Parker wasn't wrong. 2 weeks later, Patricia was at it again. This time she filed a complaint with County Code Enforcement. Same structures. Same claims. Code Enforcement came out, verified everything was permitted and legal, and closed the complaint. Patricia responded by calling the health department. Claimed Jake and Rachel's shed was a health hazard. Health inspector came out. Found nothing. Closed the complaint. Patricia tried the fire marshal. Claimed their fire pit was a safety violation. Fire marshal confirmed it met all safety codes. Closed the complaint. She was escalating. Getting more desperate. More aggressive. Rachel was at work when her phone rang. The county attorney. Sheriff, we need to talk about Patricia Henderson. What's she done now? She's filed a complaint against you. Claims you're abusing your position. Harassing her. Intimidating her with false citations. Rachel closed her eyes. Of course. Patricia was going on offense. The citation wasn't false. She filed a false police report. I know. I reviewed the case. The citation is valid. But she's making noise. Writing letters to the county council. Calling the newspaper. Claiming you're corrupt. What do you need from me? Documentation. Every interaction. Every complaint she's filed. Every response. I'm building a case that she's the one harassing you, not the other way around.